If we're to design a better way for women to get clean water in the developing world, I don't think we can begin to understand the problems they face without having been through some of it ourselves. So I did. In parts of sub-Saharan Africa, women spend up to 6 hours a day collecting water for their family, while back home we probably spend the same amount of time with our eyes glued to our smartphones. It's estimated that by 2020, 2/3 of the world's population would be living in water-stressed conditions. And so with problems getting worse for women in developing countries, we as designers need to rethink how we use water at home and abroad. To gain insight into the journey millions of women make each day, I decided to collect all my water from a burn 0.8 of a mile away. I'd originally wanted to filter the water myself to make it drinkable, however, after reading a paper on the fecal contamination of oozebin, I didn't fancy taking the risk. So instead I used that amount of water I collected as my allowance and measured that same amount from tap water. So getting up an hour early each day wasn't too bad. I walked down with a jerry can, brought back 15 litres on my head. And it was hard work, but I kept in mind the fact that women spend up to 6 hours a day doing that, not just for themselves but for the whole family. So I did sustain a few injuries carrying the water. I got a bruised head and a sore foot for a couple of weeks, but I think that was just to do with inexperience. You know, it's the first time I'd done something like that. And I'd imagine that the bodies of women collecting water are fairly well adapted just through the fact that they've done it for their whole lives, and generations before them have done the same. And during the course of that week I've made a couple of tweaks to the way I collected water. One was to wear a loose beanie to make the bruising on my head a little less severe, and it acts as a cushion. And then the other was to carry a little scoop just to top up my jerry can when the water level was quite low. So if I made those tweaks just over the course of a week, I'd imagine that women that do that every day for their whole lives, and their mothers did, their sisters, their aunties, they've all been doing the same thing. They've probably perfected that journey as best as they can. So I don't think this is about the problems women face on the course of that journey. It's more about the fact they have to make that journey in the first place. I could design a better way for them to collect water, but I think that might be skirting around the issue. The fact that they have to do that journey in the first place is the core of the issue. We know that water scarcity is predominantly caused by poor water management rather than environmental factors. So how can we empower women to be autonomous from the people managing the water supply? Let's give them back the 6 hours they spend collecting water so that they can fulfil their potential to break the cycle of poverty through education and entrepreneurship.
Designing to improve the comfort of women carrying water will only do just that. It won't change the fact women are still missing out on up to 6 hours of education or employment each day. I believe the only way to lighten the burden of water collection for women in the developing world is to stop women having to make the journey in the first place. To prevent women wasting valuable time collecting water, there has to be a clean water supply closer to home. Normally this would come in the form of a deep well, but they're expensive to build and can be difficult to maintain. If there's no clean water nearby, we need to find an affordable way to collect and filter dirty water. The current ways of filtering dirty water, like chlorine tablets, UV filtration, and active carbon filters, are all either too expensive for people in the developing world, or are ineffective at making the water safe to drink. My proposed solution is a combination of two ideas: a hand-dug shallow water pump and a tree branch water filter. The idea came from a conversation I had with Will Armstrong, who was testing the effectiveness of tree branches at filtering bacteria from dirty water. The filter would be great for people with easy access to dirty water, but some women have to walk miles just to get dirty water. The water pump design is open source and made entirely from readily available PVC plumbing parts. The pump can be inserted into a shallow well, which can be dug by hand. That way, anyone can access dirty water close to home and then filter it through freshly cut tree branches to make it clean.
The study is based on an MIT study which tested the effectiveness of filtering bacteria through North American pine trees. We're using trees which are more local to the issues and testing how well they can filter bacteria. And if it's successful, then it should make water more available and affordable to people and reduce the amount of time that they have to walk